Neil from Essex here today to talk to you a little bit about lift capacity. We're going to talk a little bit about this tractor, the capacity of its loader at different points, and see how we're able to do when it comes to lifting this skid of heavy baler twine.
Essex, a helping hand with your land.
So first, a little bit about our setup. This is the ballast, our weight for today. This skid is full of 48 balls of baler twine. This twine here comes in at weighing at 22.5 pounds per ball. This is a great skid for this kind of setup because when we're lifting things out here on pallet forks, where that weight is positioned has a huge impact on the capacity of the tractor. This being basically a 4-foot cube of weight has equal distribution both in front and behind the center of the pallet forks, so it's going to be a good representative load here on our tractor. Next up is our tractor. This is a Kubota L2502, basically a 25 horsepower standard tractor equipped with an L2502 loader. This is the only loader that goes onto this tractor. This one is equipped with a skid steer coupler. You can order these in what's called an FL package that does not have the coupler with the bucket right on it, but this version is going to come through with the skid steer coupler. Now, when we look at the capacity of this loader, this is going to have a lift capacity of the loader 500 millimeters forward, okay? So that means going from the loader's pivot pin where that quick attach coupler mounts onto the loader and going 500 millimeters front, or that's about 19 inches or so. And that's gonna lift at that point 864 pounds. Now, if we brought that lift capacity back closer to the pivot pin, where the pivot pin attaches onto that skid steer coupler, right there we have a capacity of 1,144 pounds. Now, those capacities are to full height. The tractor is gonna lift more weight as the loader is lower to the ground and the load is closer to the tractor. And we're going to see that here as we start working a little bit. Now, you're going to notice on the back of the tractor here, this machine has a backhoe on the rear of it. It's partly because this is just what was convenient out here in the parking lot to use today. But it's important when you're pushing any loader like this that you have some kind of ballast on the back of your machine. If you take any tractor and loader and you operate it near its upper capacity limits, you're going to find the back end of that machine to be very light. You probably can't travel safely, and so I'm happy to have the backhoe on the back of this machine today to providing ballast to make sure this thing is rock solid as I manipulate this skid. Now, strictly by the numbers that we've talked about, this tractor should not lift this skid of twine, right? We've got 864 pounds of capacity, 500 millimeters forward to the pivot pin. We have a skid that weighs in excess of 1,100 pounds, but you're going to see here if we rev this tractor up and take the loader straight up, it can lift it. Probably could have guessed that, right? But you're gonna notice when it gets to about this point right here, it's going to stop, okay? Now that's because your loader lifts in an arc. As that loader goes up, the load gets a little bit further away from the tractor, and it's got a bigger fulcrum there that's stopping this loader to continue going up. But now if I take the weight here and I roll my forks back into the tractor and I bring those balls of twine back closer to the machine, I'm gonna be happy for the brick guard on the back of our forks there that keep these things from tumbling off. I can continue going up, right? So I went to stop there before, but we can keep inching this load up by curling it back and getting it closer to the tractor. This is one point that the rollback specification on your loader starts to matter. You can actually lift quite a lot more than what your loader's lift capacity is in the boom by using that rollback function to roll that load back closer to the machine. Now, I don't want to dump these back on myself here, so we're going to stop going up like that. But you can see here how I was able to eke an extra couple of inches out and get this 1,100 pound skid way up in the air on a tractor that can only lift 860 pounds. So we've generally found Kubota to be fairly conservative in this way. When you look at these spec sheets, they do a good job of making sure we've got headroom in here, right? That we're able to, work these tractors in a way that is going to meet our customers' expectations. When we tell you this loader lifts 860 pounds, you should be surprised and not surprised when you can go and get 1,100 pounds up in the air. So now, in order to find what is the maximum amount of twine that I can lift here, I've removed 7 balls from this load, 22 pounds apiece, approximately 150 pounds of the twine sitting there. Now, when we take this and lift, See how much more quickly it comes up off the ground? And as this thing starts to creep up, you see how it slows down, right? The loader moves in an arc, the load is further away from the tractor. It might be hard for you to see, but I can see down here watching the cylinder that is still eking up just a little bit. Now my power forks are still level. I don't want to wear this skid of twine. But if I keep kind of working that load back towards me a little bit and cheat it back and forth, I can see right there is the point that I've bottomed that out. So that's my maximum lift height, and I can come out here and now level my load out. So if you have a load that this heavy, right? Say you're lifting off heating pellets, landscape pavers, whatever, you know, removing a couple of pieces from that skid to be able to get it within the range of your tractor is going to be useful, right? Again, 860-pound capacity tractor. At this point, about 1,000 pounds sitting out there on the skid. So we're still easily exceeding what the tractor can lift, but we've got our job down, right? Now, if I would have pulled every one of those bales from the far end of the skid, it would have amplified the impact of removing them. I removed them fairly evenly, some kind of there across the middle. And that's another thing you can consider, right? I carry concrete with my tractor a lot like this, and when I stack the bags of concrete on the skid, I'm always putting them back against that pallet fork frame because I can fit on that extra 1 or 2 bags when they're stacked back against the tractor. Another consideration if you're trying to optimize the amount of weight that you can lift out here on the end of your tractor is making sure that you buy the right pair of forks. This set of forks right here is a 2,000-pound capacity set of forks with 42-inch tines on the end. You can get much higher capacity forks for not a whole lot more money than what this set of forks is, but the forks themselves are going to weigh substantially more weight than what this compact set does. Now, I always like to be oversizing my forks a little bit, right? If this is a 2,000-pound set of forks, that's spread out across 2 tines, meaning each fork has the capacity of 1,000 pounds. So in this case, if I have all of the weight of my load out here on top of one fork, it theoretically shouldn't bend, right? So I wouldn't ever advise for, say, putting a 2,000-pound capacity set of forks onto a tractor larger than this, because of that risk of bending, right? But that said, the lighter weight your forks are in the frame and the tine, the more capacity your tractor has for lifting this weight. So do be cautious of that. Don't stumble into, say, a heavy-duty set of skid steer pallet forks for a small tractor, because all you're doing is robbing yourself of capacity out here on your skid. Another thing you're going to want to watch here on your tractor is the pressure of your front tires. Oftentimes, I would advise to run fairly low tire pressures because it's going to make your tractor ride better. The more this tire squats down, the better traction you're going to get on the ground. But when you go and you lift something this heavy out in front of that machine, you've got huge amounts of force sitting back here at the tire in this front axle, right? 1,100 pounds hanging way out there. If you think when you're lifting away from your body, what that's doing, say, back here at your arm, right? So all of that weight sitting back here on that tire, and if your pressure is really low, you can squat this tire to the point that you could potentially have a blowout and push the tire off the rim. That could dangerously throw the tractor one way or the other, which you certainly don't want. So if you're going to go and you're going to push your loaders this hard, you know, kind of have in the back of your head that you're putting a lot of strain out here, and the pressure that's in your front tires could suddenly become very important. So in summary, you might be surprised what your tractor can lift. When we look at these spec sheets, we always will advise customers upon the most conservative of numbers, knowing that this kind of thing often happens, right? When you start lifting heavy skids and stuff with your machine, you might get some loads out here that far exceed what that tractor specification sheet would have told you that it was going to lift. And when you do that, you want to keep all this stuff in mind, right? Where that load is sitting is going to impact how much that tractor can lift. How high you've taken it has a huge impact on it. Making sure your machine is properly ballasted, watching the pressure in those front tires, all can go a long way to making sure that you're getting all the capacity, all the productivity out of your tractor and doing it safely. Another thing I'll throw out here too, if those of you aren't used to using baler twine for things, it's one of those things that we're going to see here around farms and businesses and stuff in the area that are used to having this stuff in their garage, that should be in the garage of many of you homeowners as well. A bale of twine like this can be anywhere from $25 to $35 depending on how big it is. This one's going to have 4,000 feet worth of string in here. And having one of these floating around your garage is something that should be in the garage of every person. I can't tell you how often I go to the bale of twine that sits in my garage. Just a really useful thing to have around and something that you're gonna find in all domestic locations. So shopping for a piece of equipment that we can help, need baler twine because you're headed out to the field this summer. If you need parts or service for any of your equipment, do give us a call. We're available at 800-222-3373 or check us out at Messick's.com.